Hey there, internets. So, it's still before midnight, a good 40 minutes or so. So it still counts for Saturday Night Rant. And I try and put those out unscripted, sometimes not a lot of research because it's mostly just opinion. But I was going to talk more about this survey and this whole thing in the 39th district because it's a little more local than I want to do for my channel, but I got a lot of listeners there. Our viewers there relative to my whole 19 subscribers. We're still looking for number 20. But, there's broader things that could apply to that. Especially in the idea of when you're in partisan politics. But I'm trying to get some things verified because of some other posts I'd seen. And until I do that, I don't want to get too far out there. However, I also was thinking and really kind of felt real strongly to go back to the old thing about internet and censorship and that stuff. And I'm going to drift a little bit into a religion aspect of it and kind of call one out. Because I do occasionally listen to videos from an internet preacher or three. Sometimes they're just suggested videos. Sometimes there is one I've subscribed to because I like to sometimes his Mike Winger's 20 Questions with Pastor Mike, and it's something I can kind of cut off after, we're done with question 4. I can cut it off, come back to it later. I am finding his Women in Ministry series quite cool. But, the broader point is, and I'll go back to why I bring up the religion thing, is when the best argument you have is to shut down the other people, you don't got an argument. What prompted me to want to talk about this was this week, Ricada Law, which is a LawTube channel, gained a lot more prominence because of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. He was live streaming it, and he'd have sometimes a dozen other attorneys, some of whom were active defense attorneys, on their live streaming with him, offering commentary during the more boring parts of a trial. Well, he'd had a couple strikes, and right in the middle of the live stream, boom, they nuked him. Apparently what happened was there's a bunch of people that don't like him and decided to mass flag him, and instead of seeing why he was being mass flagged, YouTube just went, we're going to shut this one down. Permanently gone. And supposedly, I hear about this, and I'm listening to the quartering while I'm working on my home improvement project, and hearing about some of this, and of course he's up on Rumble, as am I. Anything I've said, that my one video that got deleted by YouTube did survive over on Rumble, and now you can say exactly what I said, apparently, and no repercussions. But they chased him down, mass nuked him. Now, quite frankly, it's both authoritarian and completely juvenile when you do that. I don't care how big you are. When your argument is basically a shut up and we're going to make you shut up, you have no argument. And it doesn't matter whether it's, this government censorship like China is known to do, where they block websites and try and shut down, and you got the social credit score system, or whether it is heckler's veto. Matt Walsh was doing a screening with a Q&A session for his What is a Woman documentary. This weekend, people said his very presence was a threat to their very existence. Really? You still are physically there. They couldn't sing Bohemian Rhapsody worth anything. My wife heard it, and she, very, very hyperbolic to say anybody sings worse than me. She said it was worse singing than I can do. And what Bohemian Rhapsody has to do with anything to do with that, I don't know. But when that's your solution, you have no argument. And you see this a lot. It's whether it's Facebook censoring conservatives, whether and they've found out that Facebook has been willing to. We've had the Biden administration say, shut these people down, shut this argument down. And that's a problem, because when you don't allow a free and open debate, new ideas can't be expressed. What if you, by some chance, you're wrong? And because you just shut down the argument, you don't know. You don't know it. That is possible. We are all human. So you can be wrong. And that's okay. Now, you see this in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's the heckler's veto. It is outright trying to ban what someone says when they say you cannot say anything against certain medical products. That is censorship. When you say you cannot question the veracity of an election, that is censorship. And that's, of course, being brought up in that same survey about one of the candidates not agreeing with the results of the 2020 election, or that the result was legitimate. Now, I myself, I have a very nuanced view to that and to the January 6th thing, depending on what aspect you're talking about. But it was a question that was it was written to be inflammatory. As though we just want to shut you up. And likewise, when they said, oh, you don't even have standing to sue. Most of the lawsuits were thrown out via standing. And you see this with the people that call for the return of the fairness doctrine. Let's talk about the fairness doctrine. It was created in the 60s when most people had 2 to 5 channels on their TV, a half dozen radio stations. You had 1 or 2 newspapers in an area, so you had a very limited choice of news. I go to researching this situation on the 39th, I can call up 5 different newspapers. I can go right to the party websites. I emailed the Snohomish County chair about this thing going on in Snohomish County because there's things I saw about it. Every couple of days I catch a German public news broadcast that's on the internet. Thanks to the internet, I have 1,000 channels I can choose, and I can also shut them off. I can get a perspective that maybe I just want to hear. What are Europeans saying over the Dodd decision? I wanted to listen to it, not because I agreed with it, but because I wanted to see what is being said. I was intellectually curious enough and to even have my views challenged. I'm pro-life. They generally weren't. Their literal attitude toward the election in Italy was, oh my God, conservatives won. It's fascism returning. It's not fascism returning just because conservatives won. And if you actually took the time to research fascism, you'd realize it was a collectivist system born out of socialism. It's basically a national socialism. Where have we heard that before? So it just happens to be socially traditionalist. So what would you have in the fairness doctrine? They want to be able to come in through and tell Fox News, you have to get rid of Tucker Carlson, at least as his program exists. But you know damn well that I'm not sure who it was that replaced Rachel Maddow because I don't watch MSNBC. See, I have a choice to just tune her out anyway. But when she was on, there's nobody, that they weren't going to say, MSNBC, you have to get rid of Rachel Maddow and replace her with Tucker Carlson. They could restrict what was viewed and give the views of what they want, of what that station wants to be heard. And generally that means conservative voices aren't heard. It's very easy to avoid conservative media. A lot harder to avoid liberal media. You have to live under a rock to avoid it completely. I mean, even if I want to see sports news, want to see what the Mariners score was. Yay, they won. Well, I'm still having to go to a liberal source if I go to ESPN. So that's the crux of their argument, is just shut up. Honestly, you don't have an argument with me. And this extends to in religion. And why did I bring that up? Joel Osteen got criticized by Mike Winger. Mike Winger said, here's a video, here's clips from Joel Osteen's sermon. Here's how he uses the scripture. Here's where he's wrong. Whether I agreed with it or not, I happen to agree, because prosperity gospel is a pile of crap and goes in the same category as liberation theology, as far as my layman's view of it. What did they do? What did Joel Osteen do? He said, oh, copyright violation, you need to shut it down. And Mike Winger probably could have won, especially on the second version of it he did, which I actually watched that one, or listened to it. And he raised some good points. He said, there was one place that Joel Osteen used scripture correctly in this one sermon. He's about 15 times or something. He used it incorrectly. And instead of saying, well, here's the response why Joel Osteen was right, no, they just say, shut him down. So Mike Winger, I think in this latest one, I wasn't going to watch another hour of that guy just to see what he did this time. He made another version that so far hasn't been taken down. It doesn't matter whether you're talking religion, politics, or anything else. If your solution is shut up, instead of saying why you're wrong. I mean, somebody criticized Mike Winger. I've seen him criticized a couple times, and he doesn't try and shut them down. He just said, here's where I see it this way. Now, I saw him post somebody else, because apparently he has COVID. Said somebody else did a pushback when another Christian YouTuber didn't like his views on Calvinism. Somebody did a pushback. They said this is why they're not either not understanding Mike Winger right, or they're wrong. That's the way you solve it, is with more speech. All these transgender activists, instead of saying we need to shut Matt Walsh down, why don't they defend it? Why don't they define a woman without using the word woman in it? Why don't they say why? Just first, now they're only finally openly admitting to mutilating these kids at 12 years old, or I don't know if we've gotten down to 12 with surgeries yet, but give them time. Not that I want to give them ideas, but performing double mastectomies on 15, 16-year-old girls. Jazz Jennings had bottom surgery, which means the twig and berries were removed and filleted and whatnot. So instead of just admitting it, they tried to hide it. Then when they couldn't hide it, they now trying to say it's good, but they're trying to shut Matt Walsh down. Why? Wouldn't it be better to justify your position? Show evidence that it's better for these young people? Not just 3 months after, years after. Not when you first made the decision. I mean, there's a part of me that had buyer's remorse on my house. But not in the first 3 months that I bought it. It was a long time later. So, long and short of it, that's where it's going. And, now that they want to do something about Twitter. They want to be in their own little echo chamber because Elon Musk may or may not actually buy it. Now Twitter's trying to fight him, say you can't buy us now, after he said, fine, I'll buy it. Because he has every intention of showing the bias against conservatives. And they don't like that. They're upset that it's okay for Elon Musk to... Not okay for Elon Musk to buy Twitter, but it's okay for a few liberals to have exclusive control over other social media giants. Problem? I think so. A little bit of hypocrisy much? Just a thought. Now they're creating, I think it's called Tribble. I almost want to say either Tribble or Tribal, but it's not spelled actually Tribal. It's Tribel. It's because apparently Alphabet and Meta are not progressive enough. They want to create their owned by one guy social media platform for progressives, so they can go to their own little echo chamber, which I'm sure its rules allow them to easily ban conservatives. So they don't have a problem with that, but somehow Elon Musk can't have Twitter when he just wanted to let everyone speak. And this is the bizarreness of it. They even think that it's not free speech when you let people say whatever they want. So, anyway, that's kind of my little rant about censorship. I'm waiting for an email back from see if the chair from Snohomish County, because I want to at least verify what was said, because I gotta be honest, when it comes to that race, I don't know the incumbent that well. Can't ever recall meeting the challenger. I'm not impressed when people say that being a moderate the big virtue, but there is some of the same behavior issues that I haven't liked out of someone on the right being alleged with the incumbent. And people that I do know and do like and respect have actually endorsed the challenger. But I was not impressed with that survey. And I strongly think that survey may have been funded either by the one campaign or by the campaign of the supporters of that campaign. So once I have verified things, I might come back to it and do at least a little short video. It won't be a short. But until then, smash that like button, share this with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't. Until then, you all take care.